Okay, I'll start. Jack Walsh, City of Derby. You already had Aaron. Let's see, on my screen, Desiree,
Desiree Blanchard, Communications with NVCog.
right? Paul,
Paul Benevich, Watertown Town Engineer.
Richard,
I assume that one's me, but there's a bunch of us. I'm Rich Donovan,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Transportation
Okay.
Planning Director with NVCog.
Mark,
Morning, Mark Nielsen and VCOG.
okay, Brian,
Good morning, Brian Surwich, Town of Seymour.
Christine,
Christine O'Neill, NBCOG.
okay, James,
Jim Stewart, Naugatuck Public Works.
Birch,
Amanda Birch, Thomaston Greenway.
okay, Chris,
Chris Roberts, Active Transportation Unit at Connecticut DOT.
okay, Jody,
Good morning, Judy Mancini, City of Waterbury.
Emily,
Hi, Emily Wilson, Yukon Clear and the Yukon Trails Program.
okay, Catherine. Oh, Catherine's just getting connected, so. Let's see, C. Stevenson, I don't know who that is, so.
So that is Craig Stevenson. He's a new project manager here at NVCog.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
Thanks, Aaron.
Who did I miss? Oh, Catherine. Good. She's on now. Kathy, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm the Transportation Director here up at the Northwest Hills Council of Governments.
Oh, okay, great. All right, I think we've got everyone. If I miss anyone, just speak up. Okay, I guess we did get everyone. So let's get right into it with the Connecticut Trail Finder service. I took a look at it yesterday. I do have a couple of questions, but it's great. So who's going to handle that? Emily?
Yeah, so Emily Wilson from Yukon. Emily, if you want to, I can stop sharing if you want to share your screen.
Okay, give that a try. One second.
As long as you have, do you have, yeah, okay.
I think I do. I'm just showing the website. I'm just doing a quick demo here. This is just kind of a quick overview. Can you see the website that I'm showing everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, so as a brief overview, we run what we're calling the Connecticut Trails Program, and Aaron and NBCOG are partners in this program and have been for a long time. I believe Aaron's going to talk about the Trail Census next, which is one leg of the program. Another leg is the Trail Finder, which I'm going to talk briefly about, especially the newer module about trailside services that are connecting our trails to our local towns. And then the third is an outreach portion through our extension programming and to different communities. So I'm not going to talk about that today, but that is what makes up the program. And so I am going to talk about Trail Finder. I think many of you are familiar with it or have heard about it. It is truly a way for people to find trails. So it's not your Strava or your AllTrails or places where you're tracking, all of your speed and all of that stuff. It's really a way for people to find trails in our state. And when they're finding them, to find the correct, accurate information. And by doing, the way we do that is we work with the trail managers. The only trails we post are ones that we've done through managers. And that are folks that know the trails, they know which ones are authorized, they know what uses are allowed and so forth. So I think some of you on the call have been involved in that. If you're interested in adding a trail that we don't have yet, I'm happy to work with you and put you in touch with our folks who are handling that communication. So the first thing you do here is to find trails, and it opens up the trail map. Here it starts with just the numbers, but I like to wait till this little icon here is and show all of our trails across the state. And so someone could just poke around and find a trail from the map, like zooming in over here. And all of these points are different trail posts that we already have on Trail Finder. The other way is to use the search bar on the right. So if people are interested in biking or horseback riding, we can find trails that is set as an allowable use, as well as things like accessible trails. This is something we're really trying to stress, get as many of these on here as possible so people can find them. And then there are popular searches like if you want to see a waterfall, if a nature trail, family-friendly trails that are good for smaller kids. So that's the search and the finding of trails that really Trail Finder is designed for. So I just want to open one of the trail posts here. Go down here to maybe Derby would be good, which is part of the Greenway. And so every trail that you just saw on the map has a trail post, a page like this that has a short description, some basic information, photos that have been provided by the manager or users that have uploaded them, some information, and this varies based on the trail and what the trail manager, what information they would like to get out to the people. So we really stress putting what's an allowable use. If you only have 2 parking spots, let's say it so we don't have big meetups there and so forth. Like, get the information out so people have it and can plan accordingly. And then of course it always links right back to the trail manager. This is to partially build awareness that a lot of people are out there working across the state to make trails publicly accessible, and maybe eventually drum up some other volunteer time and interest, which would be excellent. The second tab is the map. So here's an example of this section. The map has the lines. Each line has some basic information like how long is that segment, what the grade is, what the surface is, some other, if it has a blaze color or trail name. This part of the trail, as you probably know, is accessible. So this show hide comes on, so it highlights the parts of the trail that are considered accessible by the trail manager. A lot of cases, it's just one little bit of a larger trail section, and just that bit of trail would highlight. And then one thing I really like is this ability to show related trails. So in this case, this section here, there are 2 posts right now, but they're related. So we're able to show, in some cases, these trails build on each other and really begin to show the networks that we're trying to create. So if somebody wanted to go to the Ansonia Riverwalk portion, they could go to the trail post for that portion, and it would do the opposite to show the related. Okay, so that is kind of a very brief overview of the trail part. With the new part that we want to mention is the services. And this trailside services are considered things that are in the local area that could be related to the trail, like coffee shops, gear shops, breweries, restaurants, and other things that are related or are, you know, in the region, but aren't really part of the trail. We're not talking about like a restroom or a sign. We're talking about a local business or a local museum or something like that. So we have started to add these services, and I have an intern. We have an intern who's done a great job, and we also have the ways for users to add them. So I'll talk about that in a second. But here's the trails tab for this trail. These redder dots come up, and you can see I'm mousing over them and showing which businesses are in the website already. And then there is the kind of a brief search here. So if you really only wanted food, drink, you can select that here, and it's going to only show icons that are food and drink. All 3 of those were, but if you're only looking for a bike shop, it's only going to show bike shops. And what happens is people can zoom out, and it's going to keep showing them, but centered on that trail of interest. So that's one way that services are tied to each trail post. I also want to go to the services tab here, where there is the Find Services overview page. So this is all of the services that have been loaded so far. And again, we can turn on the trail lines with this button and now see relative to the trails where the services are. And let's say, again, we only want to do, or maybe we're looking for a bike shop. I'm going to put that in, or here, I'm going to change my mind and just type ice cream. And it will show the ice cream shops that we've listed. So if you're interested on going out on a trail and then visiting an ice cream shop, we can now look around and see where they are related to the trails and go and visit that service. It has some very basic information, and then we really try to link right back to that service. We're not in the business of Google and updating hours and things like that all the time. It's just really to show where those things are. In order to add a service, like I said, we have an intern who has added a lot, but we really encourage people like you all to add them so they are near our services. That is this link, but first I'm going to go to the About services, and it's just a guideline of why we're doing this, why we think this is an important part of this website and our trails. What is a trail site services, how they're defined, some information about the different categories once someone goes to the form. So anybody can add this. You do not have to be a restaurant owner. You can be a visitor. If you go there and you realize this would be a great thing to have associated with the Greenway, go ahead and add it. We do approve it, so it doesn't happen immediately. We do look over these before we press OK, but so far that we haven't really had to make many modifications. And so to add a service here, it's this form. You do need a free Trail Finder account. You can create this. You just pick a username and your email, and then you can go in and add a service, and then you kind of own that service in such a way that you can make changes to it in the future. So that is my very brief overview of Trail Finder. I don't know, Aaron, if you have questions or if we need to move on.
No, we've got some time for questions if anybody has any. And just, you know, we have NBCOG staff worked with many of you to get sections of the Naugatuck River Greenway up on Trail Finder. So I think the only one that's not at this point is Torrington, but you know, we're happy to help Torrington do that as well. So you know, we're available here to help if you all want, you know, additions or changes to your posts, or you know, you have other trails that you want posted. You know, we're certainly here to help. But yeah, any questions for Emily?
Did a great job presenting. My question was about adding. I hadn't seen that add link there, but I think that's important to get it populated.
Yeah, thanks.
And I will say that the ice cream example is a great one, because that's how I have to bribe my kids to go out on a bike ride and behave for a couple miles. So that is very important. That and breweries, I feel like, are the two big ones that everybody cares about when they go on trails.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous service and it's free for the user, so it's great.
Yeah.
So, all right, if there aren't any other questions, let's move on. Emily, you're going to
Okay.
cover the trail census as well?
I think Aaron's going to do that. And
Okay.
yeah, if you have, please add services if you have them. And if you see trails, like Aaron said, reach out to him or me and we can work on getting that together. The mapping part of that is what takes a little bit of time, but we're happy to do that. Or if you know others, please spread the word. So thank you.
Yeah, so I'm just going to really quickly, we gave a demo of this when it first went live last year at one of these meetings, but the new Connecticut Trail Census dashboard is up, and what the Connecticut Trail Census has been doing for 7 years now, 8 years, has been collecting data on various multi-use trails across the state. So right now, the Trail Census owns 25 counters that are all over the state. There's one right now in Derby. That was one of the first ones that was installed. So, you know, we really have we have a lot of data that, you know, we really want to get out to the public. So this new dashboard that was developed last year is really an easy way for users to go in and sort of play with the data and compare trails and, you know, look into the past. So we just uploaded all of the 2024 data up through the beginning of July. So all of that data is up here now, and you can go back on the top here, if you guys can see my my pointer here, to look at the previous year's data, and you can also compare data from all of the years that they were collected on each trail on this tab. So, you know, I'm not gonna do a full demo here, but it's really easy to, you know, find your trail, look at the data specifically for your trail. You can also, you know, select several trails at once to sort of look at combined use patterns and things like that. I just wanted to bring this up today because, you know, while Connecticut Trail Census is not, you know, is not looking to install more long-term counters, they do have a program now that we're offering to do short-term counts. So to go out and put a counter out for a few weeks, and because we have so much data for all these trails across the state for so long, we have a really good way to extrapolate that 2 or 3 weeks of data out to give really good estimates of yearly use. So, I think that's really what I think most people are interested in is, how many people are using my trail. NVCog also has several counters now. And we really want to get them out and installed and, collecting data on trails and other pedestrian areas. So, if any of you have a desire to get your users counted on trails, please reach out to me and we can start doing that. One of the great things about this dashboard is that, it was set up in a way that partners can share data and get it up onto this dashboard. So, we're going to be working at the end of this year to get our NVCog counters. So we have one in Ansonia that's been out there for a few years. We have one in Watertown on the Steelbrook Greenway. We have one in Waterbury on the Naugatuck River Greenway now. So we're going to be working with the Connecticut Trail Census to get our NVCog data up on this dashboard as well. So, the idea is eventually to have, all partners across the state that are working on trails that have counters like these, to be able to, get all of that data up into one place. So, get a much fuller picture of what's going on. And I think it really helps promote trails because, saying this is a really busy trail is one thing, but to say, there's 250,000 trips every year taken on the Derby section of Greenway, that's another thing. And, I think going back to the trailside services, I think, understanding use patterns is really important for economic development as well. So, getting businesses along trails interested in the trail and getting users interested in those businesses, I think there's a win-win there. So, so I just wanted to share that real quickly, and I'm happy to answer any questions about that.
Hey, Aaron, maybe just quickly, could you very briefly explain how these two projects are funded?
So pretty much to date, most of the funding for Trail Census has come from Connecticut Recreational Trails Program grants. So we've been every couple of years going and getting more funding through that program. We're working now to try to, make it a little bit more self-sufficient. So, Trail Census is looking for basically donations or payments for those short-term count rentals. So, it costs a lot of money to have somebody go out and install a counter and, look after it and take the data and do something with it at the end. So, we're sort of trying to cover some of those costs with some kind of a payment program. And then DOT did fund, Emily, you could talk a little bit more about Trail Finder and how that was funded, but I think that was funded, basically half through DOT and half through Deep Rec Trails.
Yeah, that was the initial launch time period, and then the last couple of years of populating and progressing, like adding trailside services, has been Deep Rec Trails funds.
And the reason I ask is just so people understand, there's no free lunch. These things have to get paid for somehow, so good work. All right, if there are no other questions, let's move on to a big one, the NVCog Raise Award. Who's gonna handle that?
I guess I will.
Mark, okay, Mark.
Yeah. I don't know, Aaron, did you want to go back to the your agenda screen?
Agenda screen, sure.
Yes, so maybe you had a couple of slides for us.
Yeah, hey, so there's this slide and then there's two more. Can you see the slides up there?
No, I'm just seeing your trail census dashboard.
Okay, hold on a second. Always technical difficulties.
Yep. Anyway, while Aaron's getting that back up, just real briefly, as you all may be aware, NVCog submitted a application to USDOT for what's the RAISE grant program, and the idea was to fund the full design of sections of the trail between Thomaston and Naugatuck. And that was awarded, and so we've been working on putting together the sort of the work plan, dealing with federal highway and actually how this is going to be set up and managed. And we've been reaching out to the towns, make sure everybody is sort of on board with, you know, the intent and how we are planning to run the project. And the interesting part of this is the 4 municipalities that are within this corridor all receive recreational trails funding through DEEP. And what we're doing is using those grant awards as the non-federal share to match the federal raise dollars. It's leveraging state dollars to get the to get access to the federal dollars. So maybe first go back to the previous slide, Aaron.
Sure.
So this is showing the sections that we are going to be looking at. And you know, there's a couple of sections that have been completed, a couple of sections that, you know, have been routed. And like I said, there's 4 sections that, you know, have progressed far enough that the municipalities have requested rec trails money to do the design. These are the sections that we're going to be looking at. One of the first things we're going to do is make sure we do the full environmental assessment for the entire corridor, you know, so we know exactly what the environmental conditions, hazards, issues, constraints that we'll have to deal with. And then we're going to also then do sort of what we call a preliminary engineering work on several sections that have been preliminarily routed, but a actual alignment has not been, you know, fully determined and vetted. There are 4 sections that we're going to be doing that with. Those are listed under preliminary engineering on the slide. With the idea there is we're going to identify the exact location for the alignment of the trail, and, you know, working with the towns, of course, to identify that. We're also going to do some supplemental design, you know, for some of the work that's been underway, especially one in the short section in Thomaston. But again, the idea is that we're going to do a full design of all 10 sections within the corridor. And the idea is NBCOG is going to be the fiduciary. We're going to run the agreement. We're going to hire a consultant to do the design work. What we're kind of hoping is that we can get a consultant to do the NEPA work, and then get another consultant to do the design. But we're hoping that consultant may use sub-consultants to do the individual sections, because we're not going to design this all in one piece. We're going to be designing it as a section. So as design is completed on a section, that can advance the construction if the dollars are available. You know, we're not going to be waiting for the design to be completed for the entire corridor. We're going to be, you know, doing the design for each of these individual sections as they can progress. You know, as I said, the 4 towns have rec trails dollars. Those sections are ready to proceed to design, and we're not going to delay those for, you know, while we do some of the other work. So those immediately will go into design, so they can get, you know, underway, initiated, and, you know, hopefully, you know, when the design is completed, they can proceed to construction, you know, as soon as possible. And so go on to the next slide, Eric. Okay, so this basically just shows the rec trails allocation. The federal award was 5.7 million and change. We had come up with, through the rec trails allocations and the commitments from the 4 towns providing cash match for the rec trails, came up with about 1.5 million available for the non-federal share, which is sufficient to match, you know, what we have received in the federal dollar. So I think we're you know, financially, I think we're pretty good in terms of, you know, we're not going to be having to come back to ask for any additional local dollars or other non-federal share. So the innovative financing plan that we put together, is right now pretty good, where, money that's in grant awards have been already committed, to the 4 communities, the rec trails, and their past contributions to the rec trails will be sufficient to match the federal dollars. So there's a lot of moving parts on this program. I think we're pretty well got everything ironed out. We've met with DEEP, we've met with CONDOT, we've met with Federal Highway, and we've met with the four municipalities. So I think everybody's understands what we're trying to do, is on the same page. And right now, what we're doing here is putting together sort of the work program and kind of the sort of like I don't call it an agreement or anything, but just sort of an itemized list of these are all the responsibilities of each of the 4 towns, and so everybody knows what their role in this project will be. Right now, we are looking at probably a 30-month time frame from start to finish. But as I said, sections are going to go at a different pace depending on how they're proceeding. Again, we're looking at the environmental work to take about 8 months. Initial design on some of the sections that had been awarded rec trails. They're going to go sooner and maybe be done in about 12 to 15 months. So it's going to be a whirlwind project once it gets started, but I think it's going to be a really transformative project once it's all completed. Oh, and the last thing I will mention too is what we did find with the Rec Trails Awards is the money that was allocated was probably not enough to actually do the design that was going to be required. So again, the raised dollars are going to be used to supplement, the designs where it needs to be. So we're going to, at the end of the day, have full design plans, project specifications, and bid packages. So everything will be ready and set to go to proceed to construction. And as also part of design, we will identify any rights-of-way needs. We're not going to be acquiring any rights-of-way through this project, but we'll know what projects or parcels may need to be acquired, and have an idea of what the estimate's going to be for that and things like that. But we're actually not going to be doing the actual acquisition. So, we're hoping to get started real soon. I think we're hoping, in discussions with Federal Highway, they still have to get us their agreement and sort of the authorization to proceed, because we can't actually do anything until they tell us, we're ready to go. But we're hoping sometime in September that we may be ready to advertise and get a consultant team on board.
Any questions? Because I mean, this is phenomenal. I mean, to get all this in one big package makes it easier for all the towns. Everybody can clearly see what's going on. This is just huge. I consider it's one of the biggest things that's happened since this concept first began. So
yeah, and again, I think it will also set the towns up better to apply for other funding, because knowing that the design has been done and the environmental work has been done, really puts an application for construction dollars in a much better priority, because a lot of the work that needs to be done before you can put shovel into the ground would have been done. And I think the towns will be in much better position to get awarded construction dollars going forward.
yeah, just fabulous. Any questions for Mark?
I'll just add to that, Jack, that a couple of these sections are really the big difficult sections that would have been really hard to fund on their own. And I think packaging it like this and making it one project, it makes it a lot more appealing. And it's going to tackle these really difficult sections. Like the northern section of Waterbury between Watertown and Waterbury is going to be very difficult. We did a site walk out there with the city and the town a couple months ago, and you know, it's tight and it's going to be, you know, it's going to be difficult. The section between Naugatuck and Waterbury as well is going to be difficult, but you know, tackling it as one big project, I think is probably the only way that these were going to get done in a short time frame. So, you know, I'm really excited about it, and I think everybody at NBCOG is very excited about this project. So,
As you should be, as we all should.
And along those lines too, again, with the NEPA, that's always kind of the, you know, everybody has a concern that we're going to find, you know, some environmental constraints that are going to, you know, prevent a project from moving forward. And again, the way we're planning on running the NEPA, we're not going to be doing one document for the entire section. We're going to be breaking it down into the chunks of each section. So we're going to do a NEPA specifically for, let's say, the Watertown section, you know, from Frostbridge Road to the Waterbury Town Line. We're going to just do a NEPA on that and get that done. So we don't want, you know, some environmental issues that might pop up in one section to delay other sections along the corridor. So that's sort of the approach we're going to be taking. So at the end of the day, we'll have a complete document, but we'll have, you know, sections of that document that will be, you know, applicable to each part of the project so that that can proceed.
Just fabulous. That's all I can say. So
I have a question.
go ahead, Rista.
For the Thomaston section, is that avoiding the Army Corps property?
Well, yeah, with this project, the project limits are from East Main Street, right near where the Naugatuck Railroad Museum is, down to Greenfield and Naugatuck. So yeah, we are not looking at the Thompson Dam section.
Thank you.
That's a relief in a way.
Yeah, we didn't want to give Aaron a heart attack if we included that.
Well, I was thinking more, you know, because I know Harwington and we're trying to do some planning in the southern part. So if we had to work on a connection, but it doesn't sound like we do. So that's good.
No, all I can say is, again, you know, Ray's, the good thing about Ray's, it's been authorized for 5 years, and I think we still have another 2 years of Ray's projects that are going to come out. And, you know, if you guys are interested in then pursuing a Ray's grant for, you know, those sections, you know, to address Harwinton and Litchfield and Torrington, or even the Thomaston Dam area, you know, think about doing it. I quite honestly, I was a little bit surprised that we were awarded. But I think USDOT likes these types of projects because it does show a regional approach to a you know, to a difficult project, and that's what they like to do for, you know, that's what RAISE is sort of intended to do. So just keep it in mind. You know, I think the next round of RAISE may be coming out, you know, like in November or so. So, you know, just, you know, maybe keep an eye out for it, and, you know, think about whether your towns would like to, you know, join together and do something like that.
All right, let's move on to some of the projects that are already underway. Waterbury, Judy, are you going to handle that?
I am. Good morning, everyone. Well, you guys know this is a marathon, not a sprint. So as I updated last time, 70% design was submitted. We're in the process of our NEPA, which is another process as well. Right away, we were hoping to have the Department of Transportation help us out with that, but they're not able to do that. So we'll be doing that on our own, which is something that is a bit of a learning curve for us. We are developing a right-of-way manual, which we'll have to do. I'll have to get a consultant to do that, and then we can proceed to go out to RFP for someone to do the actual acquisition. So we're in the process of that. Everything is on track. We're on time for everything thus far, and we feel like we're in a good position right now.
Great. Derby Shelton Bridge. Mark, is that back to you?
I don't know too much to update other than it is moving along, and they've moved over to the south side to actually put in the walkway and the cycle track. That work is progressing. They're still on schedule to be completed early fall, sometime in October-ish.
Mark, maybe I can give an update then. If you look, I took myself out of the picture, but that's the bridge as it looked yesterday. Major change took place. They actually paved it yesterday.
Okay.
I think with the end is in sight. Personally, I think this project is taking way too long, but the bridge is absolutely stunning compared to what it looked like before. They still have to put in the lighting and get everything marked. So it's probably another month before they're done. But it is, if you look at the picture that's up there from the project updates in the bottom, you'll see what it was designed to look like. And believe me, now it looks like that. So I'm very anxious to see that done. And you'll also notice there's a connection to the Greenway right at the end of the bridge. That's why it was, critical for the Greenway to be involved with this, because that's one of the main entrances of the Greenway. And you'll see there's a design for a little park right at the corner, much like there is at the other end of the Derby Greenway. So there's a lot going on. And I see Paul Grimmer has joined us from Shelton. So this is the direct connection to the Riverwalk in Shelton, which is also being extended piece by piece. I know it's not formally part of our project, but really it's a direct connect, and there's a lot going on over there. So this is a critical piece, and I'm just so relieved to see it finally done. So, all right.
Yeah, the photos on the slideshow are from 3 months ago. So imagine 3 months of progress on those.
Yeah, we're just a couple of weeks away now from substantial completion on it. And we've started talking already about holding some kind of a grand opening for it once it is finished.
Yeah, I think maybe you ought to consider doing that at night, because one of the great features of this bridge is where you see those arches, that's gonna have LED color lighting at night. So, it's gonna be a big plus for both Shelton and Derby, I think. All right, who's gonna talk about the rest of that in Derby, the Main Street? Route 34?
Paul has his hand raised.
Okay.
Jack.
Yeah, I was happy to hear my name called, and this is a good time for it. The city of Shelton just hired an engineering firm called Land Tech through a Connecticut Recreation Grant Program, Connecticut Rec Trails Grant Program. And they started the survey work for the extension of the Riverwalk north from 223 Canal Street all the way over to 267 Canal Street. So we're hoping by at least springtime, we will have a completed design for that section of the Housatonic Riverwalk. That's it.
Right. Thanks. Okay, getting back to Route 34. Aaron?
Yeah, so I can jump in on that one too.
Okay.
We are still on track with Route 34 for a substantial completion right around October. Again, some of the pictures here on the screen are a bit older, but traffic is moving on both sides now. The final form is pretty well laid out. And so now it's just some of the final details, some of the landscaping work, the top coat of asphalt, and real significant progress, and again, getting pretty close to completion on it.
The sidewalks are probably the last piece that are gonna be finished there. But it's looking good, and traffic, except for at the bridge itself here, traffic is flowing much better than it was. So real progress. All right,
Yeah,
let's
it's gonna be
move on.
beautiful when it's done. If anybody hasn't seen it yet, highly encourage, go take a look.
Yeah. Now they've got to get some businesses down there. So, okay, Kennytown Dam, Aaron, that's got to be you, I would assume.
Yep. So as we reported last time, we did receive Rec Trails funds to design a part of the Naugatuck River Greenway through the Kennytown Dam property. Right now, NBCOG just issued a couple weeks ago a RFP for design services for the removal of Kennytown Dam. And we wrapped the design of the trail into that project. So we added that to the scope of the dam removal. There's a lot of interconnected pieces there that, you know, the routing of the trail is going to really heavily rely upon, you know, what we're able to do with the dam removal. So I think it makes a lot of sense to just tie those two together and have one firm do both. So that's the plan right now. We have, you know, we're expecting to hire a engineer in the fall, and, you know, the dam development and routing and design is going to be, you know, part of the public outreach and all of that for that whole project. So I think it's really going to be, you know, a really big improvement to the area, especially in northern Ansonia, where right now, you know, the neighborhood there does not have access to the river, doesn't have, you know, basically has a, you know, stagnant canal in their backyards that smells and is sort of a public safety hazard as well. So, you know, developing the trail as part of this project, I think is a really good way to sort of engage that public and you know, make it what the neighborhood wants to see in their backyard. So we're excited about that.
I believe they have a public meeting coming up next week.
We
or two,
do.
don't they?
Yeah, so it's really not going to focus much on the trail, but I mean, we'll talk a little bit about the trail, but it's really on the August 28th at 6 o'clock. You can correct me, Desiree, at the Ansonia Senior Center. We're going to be talking about the larger Kinneytown Dam removal project. So there will be pizza, I think, and childcare. So you can all come join us as well.
And Aaron, just, you know, I know you don't have a rule yet, but the idea which side of the river the trail is going to be on?
So I think south of Kinneytown Dam, it'll probably be to the east of the river and the rail. And then north of Kinneytown Dam, it's really going to depend on where the riverbed ends up sort of sitting after the dam removal. So right now it's just, you know, it's a big reservoir. I think it depends on, you know, which side the river channel is on, you know, where it makes the most sense to put the trail. And that's why I think we need to sort of tie those two projects together, because there's so many unknowns right now until we get the dam removal design done. So, you know, I sort of envision it following along, you know, just to the west of Coe Pond, in between the rail and what is now Coe Pond, and then using the canal that connected Kinneytown Impoundment to Coe Pond as, you know, as the trail bed when that's removed.
Okay. Hi, roundtable. This is an opportunity for anyone to chip in on anything going on in your community. Anyone want to add something? Brian?
Yeah, hi guys. Just so you know, Seymour awarded a design of the Route 42 connector road to Lang and Engineers, and that's going to connect Toby's Pond to the existing trail at the other dam's escaping me, Teague Dam. So we're excited about that. Hopefully they get started soon, and it's, you know, more progress on a nice big connection. We'll need more funding to assist the developer in construction, but one step at a time.
Right. Anyone else? I've got one for Derby. You know, our trail is the oldest one, and of course things wear out. And we have a bridge going over the railroad tracks on the Housatonic River side. And the city is committed over $500,000 to repair that bridge. They've gotten a little bit behind, but good news, they've hired an engineering firm to manage it. So I think we'll finally see progress. And I would expect an RFP before the end of the year, and that bridge should be rehabbed for next year. So more progress. Anyone else? Okay, let's move on to funding submissions and opportunities. Aaron, is this back to you?
I don't know, Mark might wanna.
Yeah, I'll talk about Transportation Alternatives Program. As you all should know, DOT did solicit the regions for project proposals for funding under the TA program. TA is a set aside of the federal surface transportation block grant program. And the money is allocated to what's called transportation management areas. We're part of the Bridgeport-Stanford area as well as the Waterbury area. We worked with our partners at WestCog and MetroCog to come up with a priority list for projects under the Bridgeport-Stanford area. Where the top 3 priorities were submitted to the department. And it's, a project in Stanford, the Ansonia Trail heading out from Riverside Drive up to Nolan Park, and then one in Bridgeport. And based on the cost estimates that were put together, we have sufficient funding to, fully fund those 3 top priorities. So we're pretty hopeful that those projects will go, which, is good news for the Ansonia section, which they're currently under design with. So that will be completed. In the Waterbury area, we just received one proposal for some pedestrian sidewalk improvements in Prospect, which we had submitted to the department. So again, that's likely to proceed as well. But it was interesting this round. The TA was a little bit light on proposals. We're not quite sure why, but it was a little bit light for our region. So, but we are hopeful that with the projects we did get proposals for will proceed fairly quickly. And the nice thing with the 3 in Bridgeport-Stanford, they're continuations of an existing project. So there shouldn't be any really delay while the projects are being vetted, because the Stanford one is a continuation of a project they're working on, and like I said, the Ansonia one is in design, so it's not like they have to go through design activity. So that's pretty much an overview of what's going on with TA. The only thing I did want to mention to Brian, when you're talking about Seymour, just keep an eye out for that raise notice, because again, that project, for the connector road between 42 and 67, would fit very nicely into a raise grant, because it does provide larger amount of funds, and it is really tied to economic development, which the Haynes site is definitely would be supportive of that goal. And again, you can show that there's already progress being made through the design work that's being done. So just keep an eye out for that NOFO.
Yeah. Mark, you said November on that?
It's Rich. Usually it's like November, right? That they come out.
Yeah, the last 3 years it's been November. So I would
Yeah.
expect sometime. It's kind of fluctuated around between early and late, but right
Yeah.
around the end of the year, sometime in
But-
November, I would expect it.
Yeah, and don't delay. If you're interested in doing it, start putting stuff together, because typically they give you about 2 months to put the application together. So it's not it's a real tight timeline, and it's not an onerous application, but it's not the easiest thing either. There's a lot of information that they want, so. And the sooner you get started, the better. So, just give it some thought. If the town wants to pursue, some additional construction money, or finishing design or utility, that is a good opportunity.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I'm sure the town will go for it. We could use everything we can get around here. Every
Yeah.
town can, right?
Yeah, the kicker always is that 20% non-federal share. That always, sometimes, give some local communities pause. Especially when you see, it could be a $20 million project, and they realize that 20% of that is 4 million, and that's a pretty big,
Yep.
big chunk of change. So that's one of the things that you have to work on. Sometimes the application's easy, getting the town to commit that kind of money sometimes can be hard. So, but they do like innovative financing. So, we got creative with our raise, and they approved it. So there are ways.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, that's all I have on the TA then, Jack.
I didn't hear you, Mark. You say that again?
Oh, so that's all I have on the TA.
Oh, how about the micro grant program? Anyone on that?
Yeah, so this is the DOT released this earlier this year. These are grants of up to $5,000 for towns, for nonprofits, school districts, anything like that, to help provide active transportation equipment. And so, they're talking about bicycles themselves, bike locks, helmets, protective equipment, vest, whatever it may be, as well as to help run some programs. If you want to run training programs or teach kids how to ride bikes or, anything like that. All kinds of entities are eligible. And so we strongly encourage everybody to look at it. The other piece too is, as a region, we've had 5 come in. The state has spent about half of the money allocated to this program so far. So there's another $250,000 out there that is up for grabs. And so we strongly encourage anybody who has any interest in this to let us know, and we can help put some material together for you.
Hey, Rich, could you put a link in the chat for that?
I can, absolutely.
Okay, any others? I have one thing I'd like to mention because it ties into the last meeting. I saw at our Board of Aldermen meeting the other day, they approved an Eagle Scout project for a group of scouts to go out and put GPS marking on our Greenway. And I know last meeting we had discussion of this and Waterbury, and I think it's a great idea. But after seeing it, I'm just concerned about consistency across all the trails. So I just want you to know that Derby is doing something. The scouts will be doing that fairly soon. I didn't see what their signs will look like or anything, but the idea of having the GPS markers for safety, I think is a great idea. Okay, events and public outreach opportunities, anyone?
So we, just sort of a recap, we announced this at the last meeting, but NBCOG did hold a couple events, one in Waterbury and one in Derby, associated with our active transportation plan. Desiree, I don't know if you want to give a quick recap of what those were about.
Sure. So as Aaron said, we held 2 walk and talk events along segments of the Naugatuck River Greenway as part of a larger engagement strategy to both showcase the Greenway and to solicit input to help us shape the active transportation plan. And again, the Naugatuck+Valley Active Transportation Plan will look at opportunities to improve and expand the region's pedestrian and bicycle network. And so the goal for these 2 events was to create like a relaxed, open environment where participants could casually stroll along with us along the Greenway and discuss their thoughts on walking, biking, and other forms of active transportation. The first one was held on June 4th, and that was like a lunchtime stroll from 12 to 1:30 on the Waterbury segment, starting at Platt Park. And we were joined by municipal staff. We're very grateful to have the city of Waterbury join us and give us kind of a tour. We were joined by NEST, which is formerly known as Neighborhood Housing Services of Waterbury. And so that was very fruitful. And then the second one was held and took place on June 11th. And that was from 3 to 6 along the Derby Greenway. And we were joined by, again, members, municipal staff. We were joined by Mayor DiMartino and his staff. Joined by members of Team Inc., which is a great institution in the Lower Valley. And then we were, joined by a lot of frequent trail users that day. So that was, again, very fruitful and a good turnout. We got a lot of input there, a lot of Derby users from not only within the region, but we talked to people who were visiting from like outside of the region who come and use it frequently. and heard a lot of good feedback in terms of connectivity, people talking about, you know, maintenance and things like that, and just what they would love to see in the future. So those were really two really good events.
Hey, by chance, did we have anybody from the NVCOG doing a survey on the Greenway in Derby yesterday?
Was
No.
not, no, it wasn't us.
It wasn't you, okay.
And just as part of those events, Desiree did have a bunch of stickers printed out, and we were handing those out. They're very cool. So hopefully, you know, the next in-person meeting, we'll have some stickers for everybody. I don't know, it's kind of a neat swag that you can hand out to people.
Right. How about the Connecticut Trail Symposium? Anyone want to mention that? Talk about it?
I don't know if Rista or Kim wanna talk about that.
Kim, do you wanna update?
Totally up to you guys. So save the date for October 4th. Let's see. And that's why, and also use this time to provide a quick little update about contracting too. But October 4th, it's a Friday. We will be hosting at Manchester Community College, so it's going to be a more centralized location. We do currently have a call for presentations out. We have received quite a few, and our subcommittee will be reviewing those shortly. Rista, we might be, let me check our website. We might be very close, if not past our deadline for what was proposed for presentation collection, but let me see, let's say by August 6th. So yeah, we're a bit past that, but if anyone is still interested, please feel free to reach out to us. We could always consider another presentation if need, if you have a great idea. The theme this year is Trail Toolbox, sharing tips, tools, and triumphs on Connecticut trails and beyond. So we're definitely looking for some of our success stories as well as initiatives that we're moving through. So maybe NVCOG would be interested in working with us on a presentation as well and the work you're doing. There is also the opportunity for sponsorship for those interested. Rista has been doing an incredible job in working through how we can make our trail symposium more robust and you know, more supported as we move into the future. So definitely reach out to Rista or I if you have any questions, but we're looking forward to a exciting event. This is the 6th annual event of our Trail Symposium, and registration should come forward in the September timeframe. So we'll be sure to share it out to this entire group and have all of you continue to share it out through our Trails community statewide. So I think that's good. Does anyone have any questions on the Trail Symposium? Okay, and if not, I did want to give a quick update for those that received grant funding. So a lot of the projects that were announced in the project specific section of this agenda are likely waiting on contracting from DEEP. I wanted to let you know that is progressing. I am solo this year. Last year, Lori Giannotti was still supporting our efforts. So it's taking a little bit more time on my end to get all of the scopes of work worked out. But luckily, we have come into a more efficient process with our legal and finance review. So we're hoping combined that you will be seeing a DocuSign request very soon. So just a reminder, I know pretty much everyone who did receive grant awards attended our presentation on June 27th that really outlined the process that we're going through for contracting. But one of the key components is ensuring that we know who your signatory is and whether you have any grant administrators that are participating. What we need with that That way the DocuSign request is sent to the signatory and the admins will get notification that that was sent forward, so you can remind your signatories to sign and return that to DEP. So with that, again, let me know if you have any questions, but we're diligently moving forward and working through that process. I just want to give everyone an update on that.
Thanks for that. That's helpful.
Yeah. Great.
All right, any other business or news? All right, hearing none, our next meeting is scheduled for November 13th and maybe in person with a site visit, we'll see. But, again, great meeting today. A lot of good things happening. Again, who would have thought this 15, 20 years ago, it would be this far along and still have a lot to do, but this group has been instrumental in all that, and particularly Aaron and the COG and all the work that they've done. So Aaron, thanks for keeping this going. So appreciate it. Anyone else?
Just want to say, so the in-person next, so we had planned on doing an in-person meeting in Derby this month, but I think it was a little bit premature with the projects that are still wrapping up in downtown, but there's those two projects we talked about earlier, the Derby Shelton Bridge and Route 34 that are right there in downtown. NVCOG constructed a fishing pier that's right on the Naugatuck River Greenway, and it's on O'Sullivan's Island a couple years ago. And then there's a couple really sort of transformative brownfields projects that we've been working on. So I think it would be great if we could meet in Derby in person in November and do a tour of all of that. So it'd be like maybe an hour and a half walking tour in downtown Derby. So I know we've talked about having more field trips and stuff, and I think there's a really good opportunity to see some projects that are hopefully going to be wrapped up by then, and really the impact that the trail has had on those projects, and just a lot of really good things going on in Derby.
Okay, with that, a motion to adjourn be in order.
So moved.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, we'll see you in November, one way or the other. Thanks.
Thanks, John.
Right,
Aaron.
bye. Thank you.